Your body is carrying around thousands of calories of stored energy right now. That energy is your body fat. And in theory, your metabolism can burn it around the clock, even when you're sitting still. But research shows that most people's metabolism has lost this ability almost entirely. Your cells have forgotten how to use fat as fuel. And that single shift is behind some of the most common health problems in the modern world. A landmark paper published in Cell Metabolism in 2017 introduced the concept of metabolic flexibility as a key biomarker of overall health. Researchers Goodpaster and Sparks defined it as the capacity to switch efficiently between fuels based on availability and demand. Their finding: most metabolically inflexible people, those stuck burning only sugar, have significantly higher rates of obesity, type 2 diabetes, and cardiovascular disease. The good news is this flexibility can be restored. Metabolic flexibility research spans exercise physiology, endocrinology, and cellular biology. The ability to burn fat as fuel is not a niche fitness concept. It's a fundamental metabolic function that directly impacts energy levels, weight management, cognitive clarity, and disease risk. In this video, we are going to see exactly how fat burning works in the body, why most people have lost this ability, and what the research says restores it at any age. Here's what most people believe: your metabolism slows down as you age, so fat burning becomes harder and harder after 40. And while there is some natural slowdown, research shows the more significant factor isn't age, it's insulin sensitivity. Your metabolic flexibility is primarily determined by how sensitive your cells are to insulin. And insulin sensitivity is a highly modifiable variable. That means your age matters far less than your metabolic habits. When insulin is chronically elevated, as it is in people eating frequent high-carbohydrate meals, fat cells are locked shut. Insulin sends a direct signal that says, stop releasing fat, start storing it. Lipolysis, the process of breaking fat down into fuel, is inhibited by as much as 90% when insulin is high. This means that if you eat frequently and eat foods that spike insulin repeatedly, your body is physiologically blocked from burning fat. The three biggest obstacles to fat oxidation that research identifies consistently: eating too frequently, every 2 to 3 hours keeps insulin elevated continuously. Eating too many refined carbohydrates, these spike insulin rapidly and repeatedly. And a sedentary lifestyle. Physical inactivity downregulates the mitochondrial enzymes responsible for fat oxidation. Each of these compounds the others. Together, they essentially switch your metabolism to sugar-only mode and keep it there. A major study by Smith and colleagues published in Cell Metabolism in 2018 measured metabolic flexibility in 200 adults across 3 decades of age. Participants with insulin resistance showed near zero fat oxidation at rest. Their bodies were burning almost exclusively glucose. But those with high insulin sensitivity burned fat as their primary resting fuel regardless of age. The study concluded that metabolic inflexibility is a consequence of lifestyle, not an inevitable feature of aging. Research by Spriet on fat oxidation during exercise across age groups found that the capacity to oxidize fat during physical activity can be trained and maintained well into old age, but only if the right adaptations are in place. The critical adaptation is mitochondrial density. Mitochondria are the organelles that actually burn fat. Regular aerobic and resistance training increases mitochondrial density in muscle cells by up to 50%, meaning more machinery available to burn fat at rest. The research on time-restricted eating and metabolic flexibility is compelling. Studies show that condensing food intake into a 6 to 10-hour window creates extended periods of low insulin, during which fat oxidation activates by default. During the fasting window, blood glucose drops, insulin falls, and glucagon rises, signaling fat cells to begin releasing stored triglycerides into the bloodstream as fuel. This is your metabolic flexibility being exercised like a muscle. 3 specific interventions have the strongest research support for restoring metabolic flexibility at any age. First, reducing refined carbohydrate intake. This lowers baseline insulin and allows lipolysis to activate. Second, incorporating fasted aerobic exercise. Walking or cycling before eating in the morning forces fat oxidation for fuel. Third, resistance training. Building muscle mass increases the overall metabolic sink and improves insulin sensitivity in skeletal muscle, the body's largest glucose-consuming organ. The framework for restoring fat oxidation works in phases. Phase 1 focuses on creating insulin windows, periods of genuinely low insulin. This means no snacking between meals and no food within 3 hours of bed. Phase 2 adds movement, starting with morning walks before breakfast to activate fat pathways. Phase 3 refines carbohydrate quality, not necessarily eliminating carbs, but shifting from refined sources to whole food sources that produce a slower, lower insulin response. The research-documented timeline for metabolic flexibility restoration, within 2 weeks of reducing refined carbohydrate intake and introducing fasting windows, most people notice more stable energy between meals, a sign that fat oxidation is beginning to activate. By 4 to 6 weeks, fasted morning exercise feels noticeably easier. By 3 months, metabolic flexibility can be substantially restored in most previously sedentary individuals, as measured by fat oxidation rates and insulin sensitivity markers. Concrete steps to start activating fat burning this week. Stop eating 3 hours before bedtime. This extends your nightly fasting window and activates fat oxidation during sleep. Have your first meal later in the morning. Even 30 to 60 minutes later expands your fat burning window. Take a 20-minute walk before breakfast 3 times this week. Cut 1 refined carbohydrate from your diet, just 1 to start, but choose the one you consume most frequently. If you feel dizzy or lightheaded during fasting windows early on, then increase salt and water intake. Electrolyte imbalance is common during metabolic transition and is not a sign that fasting is harmful. If you feel strong hunger between meals in the first 2 weeks, then stay with it. This is insulin signaling, not actual caloric need, and it diminishes as fat oxidation pathways restore. The research tells a clear story. Your body never loses the ability to burn fat as fuel. What happens over time, through diet and inactivity, is that this ability gets suppressed by chronically elevated insulin and reduced mitochondrial capacity. These are reversible conditions. At any age, targeted changes to meal timing, carbohydrate quality, and movement patterns can restore metabolic flexibility. Your fat stores are waiting to be used. The pathway to using them just needs to be reopened. Understanding how your metabolism actually works is the first step to working with it instead of against it. MedBrief Today translates the science into what you can actually apply. If this helped you understand your body better, there's more where that came from. If today's video helped clarify something, share it with someone who needs it. Most people never see research summarize this clearly. That's exactly what this channel is here to do.